Starlink is coming to iPhones. They're teaming up with Apple and T-Mobile. There's an article in Bloomberg from Mark Gurman, guy who covers Apple better than anybody in the game. And he says, Apple has been secretly working with SpaceX and T-Mobile to add support for the Starlink network in its latest iPhone software, providing an alternative to the company's in-house satellite communication service, which I don't know if you've used it. It's simultaneously amazing and absolutely terrible.
T-Mobile?
No, the satellite internet on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you get caught with no connection during the fires. Yeah.
So you have to go outside.
And you're like, it's amazing. It still works, but it's so slow, and you can only send a few
basically
text messages.
like text-based messages.
It's like being back in
on
like
a plane.
I don't know, like 1997.
It's like being on the phone. Like planes now, they offer the free messaging product, and then they have the paid version.
And they all
kind of
messaging,
and it's like, okay, well, you can't receive images, but you can send text back and forth.
And so they've been testing iPhones with Starlink service in an under the radar move. The smartphone's latest software update released Monday now supports the technology. The tie-up comes as a surprise. T-Mobile had.
So that's interesting. I didn't realize they fully had the tech. It was just the
hardware
software.
Yeah,
update.
Just the software.
Yeah.
T-Mobile has previously only specified Starlink as an option for Samsung phones, such as the Z Fold and S24 models. Don't want to get caught using.
Do we have any listener? Android?
Yes, we do. We have one.
Wait, one?
Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he said that.
Shout out to the Lone Ranger.
In a post on X responding to the news, Musk said images, music, and podcasts should be supported by current Starlink technology, and future upgrades will add video support as well. So it does seem like
bull market
when you
for
see
daily podcasts.
Yes, fantastic. You'll be able to listen to this anywhere. I mean, there are some like restrictions because you have to be able to see the sky. You can't really use the satellite receiver inside. And then also, if you just look at the size of the Starlink dish that I have the mini, and that gets pretty good speeds, but they make a bigger one. As you scale that down, it does seem like you're scaling down the bandwidth, and there's some sort of power law function there. An Apple spokesperson declined to comment, while T-Mobile said the test.
Yeah, Mark is really just throwing this news out there without.
He has so many moles and sources inside Apple.
Clearly, they weren't exactly ready to announce all of this, but
he knows it. But
Elon's
text
no
messages
stranger
are already
to
going
it.
out.
He just reacts.
Yes. Text messages are already going out from T-Mobile saying, you're in the T-Mobile Starlink beta. You can now stay connected with texting via satellite from virtually anywhere. So I think
it's
Apple
interesting too because I never followed this closely, but I always imagined that Starlink would eventually come out with their own phone plan and actually threaten the telecom providers.
Yep.
But maybe the telecom companies just find a way, to really.
I mean, I think it really comes down to
cell phone is tied to service still.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to like
reliability.
And using it in buildings. Like why would you pay for that plan if it doesn't work in a building? That'd be weird. And then I guess they could team up and kind of like white label, like like Mint Mobile, that Ryan Reynolds company.
Yeah.
Like they don't have their own towers. They piggyback they roam on the other towers, and so I'm sure there's some way to build something, but Apple was originally working with Globalstar to offer satellite features in 2022. There's been speculation over whether it might support competing networks. The day after Apple's 2022 announcement, Musk posted on X that his company had some promising conversations with Apple about Starlink connectivity. It's so funny how he just like rips like these private conversations on X. He's just like, oh yeah, I just walked out of Apple. Like, we're definitely getting a deal done. Like, like, it's in the bag.
Do not do that if you're not Elon Musk.
Yeah, exactly. So when a T-Mobile phone is in an area without cellular connectivity, devices that are part of the Starlink program will first try to pair with Starlink satellites. Users will also be able to activate texting via the satellite menu for the Globalstar service or contact emergency services through Apple. The initial version of Starlink is exclusively for testing, but Starlink and SpaceX and T-Mobile have said that they plan to expand into data connections and voice calls in the future. The program is also only available in the US for now, and that contrasts with Apple's Globalstar service, which works in several countries.
So when I am getting the opportunity to use satellite on my iPhone, it's still Globalstar.
Yes, exactly.
And so Globalstar shares fell because people are thinking, okay, they clearly aren't on the level of Starlink, and Elon's going to make a bunch of deals happen that directly threaten their business. Yeah,
and so the history of like satellite communications for cell phone and internet. That's been going on for, 30, 40 years.
It's also crazy. Think of the cost structure for Starlink because they own the rockets versus Globalstar, who presumably has to use SpaceX to get their satellites up. That's not a great competitive dynamic for Globalstars.
Yeah, a lot of this started with, the guy who built he owns Madison Square Garden. He built the Sphere in Las Vegas, James Dolan. So James Dolan at one point was working with Madison Square Garden on like all their sports and entertainment thing. And he had a satellite TV startup that that he was like obsessed with. He was beefing with his dad about it. It was this crazy story. They wind up selling it, I think, to Dish Networks. And Dish is the traditional like satellite TV provider. So you put the satellite dish on your roof, and then you're getting a constant stream of TV. So it's not two-way communication. It's not bespoke. So that satellite, all it has to do is just say, okay, there's 100 channels of data. I just got to send those out to everyone all the time. Yeah. Whereas Starlink's much more complicated because it has to send you your, Instagram, your specific Instagram images.
When I'm using DeepSeek.
It has to send like your specific data, right? Internet's like more complicated. And so then there were satellite phones. And then Viasat was a company that was like really promising for a while, putting up big, like huge satellites.
Viasat still does a lot of stuff with the airlines, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And then Astronis is also doing geostationary satellite internet. So they will put one up over Alaska, and then that will just control just Alaska, but it's just one. Starlink has this mesh strategy, so they put up like thousands and thousands of them. Yeah. And that's of course like driven by the fact that they have, all these rockets that are going up all the time. So they can afford to just put up tons. And then they're also in low Earth orbit as opposed to geostationary orbit. So they're, I think like, it's like 3,000 miles instead of 30,000 miles or something like that. Yeah. So much closer to the Earth, and that enables lower latency. So instead of like you could sometimes with satellite internet or satellite TV, you could download like a big file, but there would be latency. So you could never do like a Zoom call or play a live game. And that's the advantage of Starlink. And so currently, if you're using an iPhone with Globalstar, you have to point your phone at the sky to find the satellite. Whereas with Starlink, it's designed to work automatically, even when the phone is in a customer's pocket, so maybe it'll work inside to some degree. I'm not exactly sure. But both the Starlink and Apple satellites features are designed to work in off-the-grid areas such as hiking trails that don't have cellular service. The capabilities can't be used in places where a mobile phone network is within reach. So it will just say, okay, we're not even bothering with the satellites if you're connecting to a cell phone tower. And the support for the Apple feature is available on most current iPhone models, and the company plans to bring it to its Ultra smartwatch later this year. So that's cool. So like if you go hiking, you just bring your watch. You don't even need the phone. If something happens, you see a bear, you can still send a text message saying, come rescue me.
Glock's coming out.
Yeah. Maybe you don't need the Starlink connected Apple Watch. You just need the Glock. T-Mobile updated its website this week. SpaceX requested authority to begin beta testing the service starting Monday. The FCC Commission granted SpaceX conditional approval for its satellites to supplement T-Mobile's cellular network in November. So very exciting to see more Starlink news, more Starlink rolling out. Just
turns out owning the heavens as SpaceX does is quite valuable.
It's free real estate.
You can do a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah. There's a lot of alpha in that. I mean, that's the whole like mega bull thesis on the Boring Company is just like there's only so much land under the earth, and like if you can justify a way to like own it, like that's extremely valuable.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, and we've talked before about land yachts and Beanairs. Beanairs looking to develop large drills attached to vehicles that allow them to burrow deep beneath the earth and sort of pop up in Saint Tropez, Courchevel, Aspen, Art Basel. Like being able to just pop up
is a
great feature and something that is in high demand.